beat AJ, and everybody laughed. He ended up beating AJ twice. He's going to be very, very hard to beat.
The venue is only 50 miles from Ukraine. It's going to be packed for Alexander Usyk. It's like a homecoming.
I want the fight because I believe my man beats him.
Bring them titles back on. Bring them belts. They're coming with me.
Don't forget, this Saturday, Talksport brings you live and exclusive heavyweight commentary as Alexander Usyk defends his 3 world titles to Daniel Dubois in Poland. Our expert team on the night includes presenters Adam Cattrall, Gareth A. Davis, commentator Andy Clark and former super bantamweight champion Spencer Oliver. That's Usyk versus Dubois. It's live and free to listen to this Saturday on Talksport. Let's speak to legendary boxing writer about this fight. Dan Rafael joins us. All right, Dan?
Hey, Dan.
Hello, guys.
Dan, absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks for coming on. Obviously, big fight. Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. How do you see this one going apart from an Usyk domination?
Pretty much the way you just said it. Look, it's hard to pick Dubois in the fight. He does obviously have tremendous punching power. Everybody knows that. That's no secret whatsoever. But Alexander Usyk is a very special fighter. He's talented in many ways. He's got good enough offense in the heavyweight division, even though obviously he was better in terms of his offense when he was a cruiserweight. But he's very slick and skilled. He doesn't get hit too cleanly too often. His defense is on point. He's got good quickness. And I just think the skill set is so much far superior to what we've seen from Dubois, who also, I mean, you shouldn't necessarily judge a guy just by one fight. I don't think that's necessarily fair because we've seen plenty of fighters maybe have a bad night, come back and do great things. But it's really hard to overlook getting knocked down 3 times by a fighter that shouldn't have even laid a glove on Daniel Dubois, much less knock him down 3 times in the first round. And frankly, in a lot of places, that fight would have been stopped and it would have been ruled a TKO, and we wouldn't be seeing Daniel Dubois in this title fight. So I think he's better than that, but I don't think he's even in the same ballpark as Alexander Usyk. And so, to me, let's see if he can land a big punch. If he can't, it's over and out.
I can't disagree with either of what you've said there, but the facts are he's going to be putting a pair of gloves on. He's going to be getting in the ring with Usyk, and we all know boxing is a puncher's chance. But what has he got to do then? How is he going to have to approach this fight? Because you mentioned special fighter there. We've seen him come through cruiserweight, dominate that division. Now he's dominating the heavyweight one. He fights Fury. What can he do, Dubois? How is he going to approach this?
Well, I mean, I don't know what their game plan has been through their training camp, but one thing that would be, to me, probably not a good game plan was, I hope they'll tell him that go in there and be the boxer. He's not going to outbox Alexander Usyk. I don't care what weight class they're in. So if you're not going to be able to outbox the guy, which I would give him basically 0 chance of doing that, that means you got to be the fighter. You got to be the bully. You got to be the puncher. You got to be the aggressive guy. So to me, his best way to win the fight, and I don't think it's a huge chance, but his best way, he's going to have to go get him. And that's not easy because the guy can move and he's got good defense. So you have to just make sure that you're ready to get in his chest and be extremely physical, force him back, make him uncomfortable. Obviously, you're going to have to land big punches or he's got no chance. But if he's going to go in there and fight a slow-paced fight and be in the middle of the ring and just sort of, trade jabs within, try to outbox the guy and see what happens, he'll lose 12 rounds to nothing. He's going to have to step on the gas pedal and try to get him out of there because I don't see any other way that he can possibly win the fight.
Yeah, look, the winner of this fight is obviously touted to fight against Fury. Whether or not that happens, Dan, obviously we think it's going to be Usyk. Can we really see that fight getting made?
I mean, I would certainly hope so. There's no guarantees in boxing or anything else, but they were very close to getting the fight made for what would have been this past April. That's been well documented. Why? I wonder if Tyson Fury comes out unscathed in his fight in October against Ngannou, and Usyk is the winner of this fight, and they go back to the table to try to negotiate again. I'm not sure what's going to be totally different. What's gonna be different about the demands that Fury makes on a rematch clause? Now, of course, when they were going to do the fight in April, it was going to take place in the UK, where the financial amounts of money and all the things that go into it were far different than if it was being bankrolled by the groups that bring in these major fights to Saudi Arabia, where there's a lot more money. So if the Saudis are involved and there's a ton more money, maybe it's a fight that can be made much more easily than it was for this past April, where it fell apart at the last minute because of the terms of a rematch clause. So, other than that one factor, which is important, where it's going to take place, I'm not really sure why there'd be even a need to do anything different, because it would basically be the status quo. If they're both the winners of their upcoming fights, nothing has changed about their stature. Fury's still the heavyweight lineal and WBC champion, and Usyk will still be the holder of the other 3 titles, and it's still for undisputed, etc. So it's just a matter of do the two fighters, how much do they want to make the fight? I mean, they already dealt with whatever broadcasting and sanctioning bodies and all the different things that go into making a match. It was down to aspects of a rematch. So hopefully they can overcome that.
Just going back to the fight itself, Daniel Dubois, as we know, goes into this as the heavy second favourite in this fight. He's only 25, he's 26 next month. There's still plenty of years ahead of him. Assuming, for the sake of this conversation, Dan, he doesn't win, where's his next move? How does he kind of move in, continue the trajectory that he's had so far, and eventually, maybe 2 or 3 years' time, get himself back in a position where he can seriously challenge the best in the world?
Well, I think it's too early to say exactly, and I say that because oftentimes in boxing, losing is one thing. Often it's how you lose. So does he lose in a close fight where he does way better than anybody expected, and he had Usyk hanging on at the end of the fight, and he raises his stock? Then that's a different matter of the rebound than if he goes in there and he gets played with for 12 rounds, or got knocked out in 6 or 8 rounds or something like that. So the manner in which he loses, if he does, in fact, obviously if he wins, he's on top of the world. If he loses, the future is going to really depend on the manner in which he loses. So, I mean, there's different levels of losses in boxing. I mean, certain fights, if you lose, can be seen almost as a win from the standpoint that you raise your stock. And so, people want to see you. You did a lot better than the expectations were. If he can do that, then he's still in business. If he lives up to or down to, however you want to describe it, the expectations that many of us have, like we were just talking about, then it's kind of back to the drawing board. Does he fight back at British level and try to go for, establishing himself more in the UK and say win, the British title, maybe try to win the European title and rebuild that way? Or does he just become an opponent? I mean, he is young, and, I don't think, his career is over, even if he does lose to Usyk, but a lot of the perception is going to be how he loses, if he loses.
A couple of other fights to talk about, Dan. Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank Jr. in the middleweight. That's on September 2nd. This is obviously a fight that's happening again. Do you think Chris Eubank Jr. can do anything?
I mean, I don't know if he can do any worse than he did the first time around. I would hope that he went to school on what happened the first time. He was the favorite the first time. And Chris is a good fighter. I just, for whatever reason, he didn't show up that night. The good news for those of us that live here in the United States, I had reported this a few days ago. We just got the official announcement today that it will be available here on a non-pay-per-view basis, just as part of a regular ESPN Plus package. So that's just good last time they did it here in the United States. We had it on its own, but again, it was not a pay-per-view. Either way, we get it both ways. But look, Chris is up against the wall. I mean, Liam Smith has been underrated, I think, for a long time. He did a great job in that fight, and if he has that same kind of game plan, it's going to be really up to you. He can do something different, change the tide.
Okay, let's talk about the next fight that's coming up as well. Zhilei Zhang takes on Joe Joyce. Obviously, the heavyweight belt there. What can we expect, whoever goes on and wins this particular bout? Where can we expect these two? I mean, Zhilei Zhang won the first one, right?
He did. He not only win the fight, but he won in dominating fashion. That's one thing to win, but he blew up Joe's eye. And, it's kind of crazy to me, because for all the incredible amounts of amateur experience that Joe had, and also had passion, a very good resume in just, 15 or so fights as a pro, including, a very impressive knockout victory against Dubois, we were just talking about. He went into the fight with Zhang, and it was almost like he had no idea he was fighting a southpaw. Like, you figure, if you watch amateur boxing, there's lots and lots of left-handed fighters. I know Joyce has had experience against lefties. It was like he just had no clue. Now, one thing about that fight that Joe was probably not used to, but I don't think Zhang was used to it either, is fighting a man that big. He was fighting for the first time probably his whole career, a man that looked him in the eye, as opposed to Joe being a much bigger guy than the opponent. But even still, he just had no idea. So I would hope, if he wants to give himself the best chance to win the rematch, that he should have spent however long he's been in training camp focusing on how to fight a southpaw, because that was the difference in the fight, 100%. He just shots that he was throwing with the what would be the opposite way he's used to seeing punches, particularly the right hooks. Just had no idea what was going on. And so, and honestly, guys, it's hard based on what we saw in the first fight and how dominating Zhang was. It's very, very hard to see there being a different outcome.
Dan, I've got to ask you, in terms of Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, the fight, what's the appetite for that fight out in America like with Deontay Wilder?
I mean, boxing fans I hear from, they want to see the fight. We've wanted to see the fight, whether, I don't care if you're from America or you're from the UK or you're just a boxing fan somewhere else in the world that's interested in watching heavyweights. But that's been a fight that we've wanted to see for a long time. Now, I hope it still gets made, but, I'll still always feel the thought about, what it should have been. It will never be what it should have been. What it should have been was a fight for the undisputed title when they were both undefeated 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And that did not come to pass, even though they had discussions on multiple occasions and it never came off for, whoever you want to blame. Now, look, let's be honest about it. Both these guys are still good heavyweights. They're still popular heavyweights with a lot of fan bases. They're still interesting and they're still storylines, but they're not what they were. They're not even close to what they were at their absolute peak. When Joshua was, was having big wins and stadium fights and Deontay Wilder was, leaving every opponent that he faced, twitching on the canvas with big knockouts. They're just not those guys anymore. But that doesn't mean it's still not an interesting fight. If they do, in fact, fight like we hope they will, they'll be their blind. But it's still an important fight for their careers, their legacies, and a fight that I think a lot of people will be interested to watch.
Dan, been a pleasure, mate, as always.
Cheers,
Thank
Jack
you.
White.
Okay, fellas, you guys.